Well, hello there. My name's Doug Meadows. I'm the founder, visionary, and hero maker here at David Douglas Diamonds, and I just want to welcome you to our celebration of 100 years of a century of luxury and legacy. And this week we just got back from England, and I know I've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I just wanted to reflect back and just give you kind of a total recap of the trip and the time of getting a chance to see where my grandfather came from and my great-grandfather came from, and explore that countryside and you know, just try to envision what that might have been like, you know, hundreds of years ago or 100 years ago or whatever. But you know, as I think back, it's a lot of work to plan a trip. They tell me that we spend more time planning a vacation than we do planning a budget for our home, and that's why so many Americans are in debt, because we don't take the time to plan our money properly. But anyways, you know, I don't know that I'm the best planner of a trip. I'm guilty of trying to jam too much into too short a period of time. I guess I have FOMO, that fear of missing out, and you know, you figure, well, this is probably a once-in-a-lifetime adventure. I want to see it all, and you know, I did my best to try and not do that this time. You know, I decided to just spend some quality days in a couple of different areas instead of just trying to do a lot. I remember I took Emma to Italy one year, and we were changing hotel rooms almost every night, and that got really exhausting. I think the conclusion I've gotten out of all the travel that I've done is, if possible, it's nice to hang out in one spot for about 3 days, or three sleeps, or 3 nights, and you know, to give you enough time to enjoy and explore that area, and you know, don't jam pack every single day. Just give you a day to enjoy or relax. I know that one year, me and my wife, we did Route 66. We flew out to LA, got into a convertible Miata, and drove across the country. And we did it in, what did we do it in, 14, 15, 16 days total. We did a total of 14 days from LA to Chicago, and then took 2 more days to come on, bring the car back down to Atlanta. And you know, that one, literally you're changing a hotel room every single night. And I think if I ever had to do that trip over again, which I would love to do, it was so much fun, but I think I would take Sundays off and just rest. You know, use that day to just recuperate, do a little laundry, do whatever. You know, for many reasons. One is for the rest. Another thing is, a lot of stuff is closed on Sundays, you know, so some of the museums you're trying to go see, or some of the different things you want to do, you can't because it's closed. But but anyways, you know, flying into London, we had a wonderful trip, nice flight, uneventful, and I think I was the only one that got a little bit of sleep on that flight. And it's interesting, you know, the more I've traveled international, the easier it has gotten to do an international trip. You know, the very first time you do a long flight, you just think, how am I going to be in this tube for 8 or 9 hours, or longer even? You know, going to Africa was 15 and a half hours, you know, so, but over the years it's gotten a little easier. And you learn, you know, you get tricks on how to rest or how to sleep on a flight, and you know, you try all these gadgets that are out there, and you find the one that works best for you. There's some over-the-counter things like melatonin to help you sleep. I know that works really well for some people. We got these little gummy bears you can buy nowadays in these dispensaries or wherever that some people enjoy doing and does help them. As I've shared my stories with different friends, they all share their stories of how they took a melatonin and they were out cold for the whole flight, or they took a little gummy bear and they were gone until they landed. So it doesn't work that way for me, but anyways, get into London. I think the biggest shock that we had going into London and staying one night at the airport hotel, just the culture in that area has drastically changed over the years. I mean, it's a heavily populated area by the Muslims now. And, I think it was a real shock for my wife to see women dressed in their burqas and things. Not that she was against it, it was more a cultural thing, more of a cultural shock because she just had never been exposed to that. I mean, and as I've traveled different places in India and different things, I've seen it a lot, so it wasn't as shocking to me as it was to my wife. But once we got out of that area, out of the London area, it was just countryside and just locals, and it was just beautiful. It's obviously a different culture over there completely in England, and it's a much more relaxed atmosphere. It's not as hectic of a pace. Here in the U.S., I think, it's always go, 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 get it done, let's hurry up, can't wait. And I call it a fast food mentality, or drive-through mentality. You want it now, and you want it the way you want it. Over there, it was a lot more relaxed, a lot more chill. It's amazing. Pretty much anywhere I've ever gone in the world, everybody is friendly, and I think it's just in our nature to be nice to people, so we definitely experienced that. As I had mentioned in last week's video, the driving is a little different, obviously. Sitting on the right-hand side of a car, driving on the left-hand side of the road in a rental car that you're not familiar with does present its challenges, and thankfully I only got honked at a few times, and even though I bought the additional insurance on the car, thankfully it was not required or needed. But learning to get around on a bus and a subway in London was fun. Getting on the double-decker buses was kind of cool. But getting that rental car, I'll tell you, I want to give praises out to Enterprise Car Rental in London. I've rented a lot of cars. That was the best experience I've ever had renting a car. I've had good experiences before, but, and what I mean by that is, nowadays you can get pre-checked and all this kind of stuff with your car rental to where you can literally just go to the airport. You don't even have to go see anybody. You just go, you already know what aisle you need to go find your car in. You get a choice of a car. You drive up to the window. You have very little interaction with a human. You hand them your credit card and your driver's license, and they check you on out, and out you go. But in London, I was greeted. I was treated special. Not that I have any specialty things with Enterprise. I felt that I was special. They made me feel special, and they just took me on over to my car, and they toured me around the car, showed me anything that might be wrong with it and that it had been documented on their iPad. And so it started out the journey very relaxed, best I could be relaxed in a car on the wrong side of the car and the wrong side of the road with roundabouts that I'm not accustomed to. But you know, driving out to the Cotswolds is about a 2-hour ride. And you know, one of the things that I was confused with is the speed limit over there. I thought the speed limit was in kilometers. And I'm looking at my speedometer, and it's set to miles per hour because it was digital, and I was really confused. So I set it to kilometers, and I tried doing that, and I had people just flying by me, and I'm like, all right, something's not right. So I just maintained with the flow of traffic. And then I finally Googled it, and they are on the miles per hour standard over there, and they do measure their distance by miles. And so that was interesting. But you know, the Cotswolds was gorgeous, the accommodations were wonderful, and you know, you just feel like you're going way back in time when you go to any part of England. You know, there's not, you know, their philosophy is not to tear down a building, an old structure, and rebuild something new there, like we do here in the U.S. And if they do have to tear something down, they have to rebuild it in a similar look and feel and as the surrounding structures. And so, you know, you've got hedges everywhere, you've got stone walls everywhere. It was interesting when we were up in York area, and we did our day tour for All Creatures Great and Small. He helped me to understand the difference between why you would see a stone wall and why you would see a hedge. And it's based, the majority of it, probably not all of it, but the majority of it's based off of elevation. And what they can grow there or raise in that area will be dependent upon whether they do stone walls or whether they do hedges. And it's, you know, a landowner's responsibility to maintain the hedge or the stone wall. And that was also interesting to me. But, you know, we thoroughly enjoyed the Cotswolds. And, you know, if I went back, I'd probably spend, you know, 4 or 5 days in the Cotswolds and just really just slow it down a little bit more than we even did. And my wife enjoyed, you know, discovering antique stores in the areas and trying to see if she couldn't find a little trinket to bring home. But that was very, very enjoyable. You know, we had a horse that would come up to our hedge at the Airbnb that we were at, and we had these things. They were basically mints. They call them polos over there. And at polo o'clock, the horse would show up, and we would feed him his mints and have a little entertainment. But I think some of the things I enjoyed both up in York and in the Cotswolds was just taking, you know, either a morning walk or an evening walk. You know, there's really not hardly any traffic in the areas that we stayed in. And it's just so quiet and so relaxing and so peaceful. It was just a really nice time. But and then just getting a chance to explore where my great-grandfather and my grandfather were born, and then traveling up another, I think, 4 or 5 hours from the Cotswolds all the way up to the York, or actually where we were staying north of York. We were probably about 45 minutes north of York. It was, I don't know, both of these places we stayed at were outstanding. The hospitality was off the hook. I mean, it just was really a nice experience. And just the drives to get to the Airbnbs. If there is a main road, you're getting off of it. But there's really not that very many main roads. And just enjoying, again, that countryside and just seeing all the sheep everywhere, so many sheep. But they tell me that New Zealand has even more sheep. And so it's like, they always, when we go to Whole Foods to get some lamb, we got one of the guys, the butcher or whatever you want to call him back there. He rants and raves about New Zealand lamb. He says, you got to get New Zealand lamb. But they are good, that's for sure. But I don't know, I could ramble on and on and on about this trip of how great it was, how relaxing it was, how fun it was, how stressful it was. Just the different things that we enjoyed, that we explored. I think Emma's highlight was the day on the tour that we took. It was like a Sprinter van, and one of those Mercedes Sprinter vans that we had, I think, maybe 12 seats in there, so we had 12 people on it. It was about a 120-mile round trip that we went through the countryside and explored, which gave me an opportunity to enjoy the countryside because I wasn't driving. I could actually look outside the window and see the countryside and see everything that was going on out there. That's, I guess, one piece of advice. Anywhere that we've gone, we do try to get some type of a driving tour, whether it be a bus or whatever. We do enjoy it. So, but that's it for now. I'll catch y'all next week, and we'll do it again.